Where has your beloved gone, O fairest among women? In chapter 6. Where has your beloved turned aside, that we may seek him with you? So it seems that the love is contagious. As sin is contagious, also love is contagious. When you go and spend some time in a monastery, and you see the church fathers and the desert fathers, and see how much they love God and they love the seclusion, you find that you really you can get uh, accustomed to this. And this is how everybody went into monasticism. They didn't just get born, love God, and then become monks or nuns. They came across a monk or a nun they had seclusion in the monastery for a while, and it started to grow on them and started to grow to the point that they started to think of it as a lifestyle, as this is a life, and that's a major decision that affects life. But this is what happens here. Where has your beloved turned aside, that we may seek him with you? So the friends starting to seeing the effect of love, how that love is liberating and not captivating, and not a sinful love. So the other friends started to say, "Oh, if this is how you look like when you're falling in love with that lover, we definitely have to meet him. And not only we meet him, we're going to look for him. This is not like something that's cosmetic or not the focal point, but where has your beloved turned aside, that we may seek him with you?" So that's the first contemplation we can have. And the second one is that she knows what usually they ask her, because she's probably the most knowledgeable one about his location, because she's accustomed to him, she knows him. So when they want to go after him or seek after him, you're going to ask her to do this first. So can we lead others to Christ? That is the question. Can I lead my home to Christ? Lead my family to Christ? So that's why God, the opposite is the obstacle, is that when you obstruct somebody from Christ, then it's better for that person to turn his head around the mill and cast it into the sea, because he's a stumbling block. So in the very first verse, as I said, this book in its love doesn't have end on how deep you can get. And the very next one is, I think, the peak of the whole book, verse 3. Let's get to it step by step. My beloved has gone to his garden, to the beds of spices, to feed his flock in the gardens, and to gather lilies. Haven't probably written this there in the contemplation, but what is the garden that he's gone to that is full of different flowers, full of different flavors? That's the church. That is the church. To the beds of spices, I would think these are the souls that really are, if we want to call it seasoned, have flavor, aroma of Christ. That we are the aroma of Christ. That people come across and they smell the love from somebody, they smell the humility from another, they smell these different spices. And in bed, to the beds, a bed implies here staying for a long time, not just passing by. Bed of spices means this is a throne, this is an abode, this is a resting place, this is a permanent place. To the beds of spices. To feed his flocks in the gardens, again the same thing, to feed his flocks in the gardens, to feed his saints, to feed those the one who are blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. What are you hungry for really all day? What do you think about? Can we train ourselves that during Lent we think about Christ all day long? Think about the cross. That's the bed of spices. The bed of spices is the cross, because we see in it every aspect of human comfort. What do we see on the cross? We see forgiveness. We see somebody sacrificing for others. We see love that is not more than others. We see death, where the person offers his life to save others. And this is the bed of spices that all of the martyrs longed to be part of. What is persecuting us today? Not much, to be honest, especially here. Mental persecution, probably because of the atheism and the challenge to the Bible, that it becomes very, very old, non-reliable book. Nobody believes in it anymore. And as we go forward, in time, it will not look really more pleasant in terms of especially the Western society. So my beloved has gone to his garden, to the beds of spices, to feed his flock in the gardens, and to gather lilies. We brought this before, as he was beautiful among the lilies. The lilies are the saints and the martyrs of the church. So to gather lilies is that God, before he's coming again, before his second coming, he will gather lilies. He will gather the saints in order to really fulfill the eternal garden, the paradise. Then he will come again. In the book of Revelation, chapter 6, those who are under the altar are telling him, till when you will not avenge our blood from those inhabiting the earth? So they were given white linen and they were asked to rest a little bit till their fellow servants finish. So the gathering in the lilies is in the process now, till the second coming happens. Then the garden is finished, the garden is fulfilled. Those who were invited came. Those who were invited and refused did not come. St. Luke chapter 14, there's a parable about this. And everybody comes up with an excuse. So God will gather the lilies, and then when the count of the lilies is fulfilled, then we will, then the second coming will happen. Verse 3 is really the communion. And if somebody lives by this, then all of the tribulations of the world will not bother him. Where he would say, with you, I don't want anything on earth. Leading satisfaction, full satisfaction. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. It doesn't say is ours, is mine. And that is the ability of God to satisfy the person fully. He feeds his flock among the lilies. So you get the flock, us. How do we get fed? Among the lilies, in the garden, in the church. The accounts of the martyrs, don't use the term stories anymore. The account of the martyrs, the events of their lives that tell us, like for example, when we contemplate on somebody like Saint Jacob, or James the Mangled, or the Persian, he was cut, his legs was cut he was just a torso and a head on the ground. To get to this point, to cut limb by limb, and then he's telling God in his prayers, I have no legs to stand up on for you. I have no arms to lift up, but I love you, forgive me, here I am. And then he gets beheaded or burned, and he becomes one of the giant saints, but persecuted by the Persian Empire, because they believe only in the fire and in the sun. That's their gods. So these three verses is telling us how God wants us to be really consummated by the church. Really, we live with him. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. And he feeds his flocks among the lilies. And that's what God really is giving us fulfillment in the communion. So if we go to the handout and read a little bit by Leander of Seville, we wrote this we read it last time, but here it makes more sense because it's an advice to the nuns that dedicated themselves to God.
Well, real quick, it says he feeds his flock among the lilies. So there's a clear distinction between flock and the lilies.
The flock is the live one. The lilies are the saints.
Correct.
The martyrs.
But in this case, with flock, you're looking at animals, or maybe in my mind I'm picturing sheep. And lilies, at one point in time, were flock, but now they're lilies. Do you see it? I almost feel like the lilies are meant to be the saints that are amongst the people, But now
No.
we've
Also
gone
the
from
departed, the bright ones that like flowers that we look at. This is where feeding among the lilies. It's a contemplation, but the difference between them, I mean, according to the Father, it says that the lilies are the martyrs and the saints of the church in one of the commentaries we read before. So these are the bright, like when you get and see the lilies are the bright flowers that will never wither because they are in the garden, like the Garden of Eden. What is the Garden of Eden? The Garden of Eden is paradise, going back to it. So definitely find all types of flowers and many looking forward to the kingdom of heaven. What we need to learn from this is how to look at the church in this viewpoint, that I am a flock among the lilies. Because the church on earth is like Noah's ark as well. It might not look like lilies. It might look with tar and bad smell and persecution and individualism and all of these sinful acts. That's the church, the struggle in the church. So we want when I come to the church, I look at it this way. Then it will be enjoyable for me to be in. So can we read? I think Mariam can read for us we can see the full union here. This is my small comments, and then Leander of Seville, he has 2 commentaries here.
We can see the full union between the beloved and her, as we see this only in the unity that gets fulfilled in the sacrament of communion, abides in me and I in him. The lilies are the saints of the church that adorn her, where Christ is glorified in his saints.
Actually, we see the commemoration of the saints also in the liturgy. So as we pray the liturgy, it's focused on God and the living and the church of nowadays, and the church also not of the past, but the living church that still lives, and whoever is through her doesn't die at all. So we mention their name in order to stipulate that our faith, that those people are not dead, they are departed, they are reposed. So that's why there is a part for the commemoration of the saints in the liturgy. Okay.
Leader of Seville, so long as Christ wishes there to be one church of all nations, whoever is a stranger to the church is not considered a part of the body of Christ, even though he uses the name of a Christian. He is indeed your true bridegroom. He is also your brother. He is likewise your friend. He is your inheritance. He is your reward. He is God and the Lord. You have in him a bridegroom to love, for he is fair and beauty above the sons of men.
Wonderful. So let us contemplate on this on Good Friday also. Who is Christ for us? No, I will stop. I'll continue the verses. Thank you, Mary. So in verse 4, oh my love, you are as beautiful as Tirzah. Tirzah, I said here the meaning actually pleasantness. That's and also it's one of the cities that Joshua opened, and it's one of the royal cities, I think, of the Canaanites. It's one of the royal cities of the Canaanites. So it must have been a beautiful city. And I wonder if God is mentioning the Canaanites, so he's joining both his children like Jerusalem and those who are outside the flock, like the Jews and the Gentiles, could be, because he's praising Tirzah. If we say that Tirzah and the Canaanites were the cursed ones, because since they fooled Joshua, and they told him that he came from a long distance, and they played a trick on him. And when he realized this, they told him, he gave us an oath, he will not kill us. And then he said, that's fine, but from now on, you're going to be the servants of the people, not royal, not at the same level. These are the Canaanites. And that's why St. Paul, when he boasts about what his past was, and he says that this is garbage, I lost it for the sake of becoming Christian, and I consider it garbage in Philippians. In fact, I consider the whole world as garbage in order to gain Christ. He said, I'm from the soul of Israel, from the main stock of Israel. That's a key, from the main stock of Israel. Not from the Edomites, not from the Canaanites, These details are amazingly important because of the Bible. If we take just spiritual reading, we will lose this all of the depths of why these verses are used. Lots of them I'm ignorant of it, but the more you find that, it becomes more beautiful to know the context of why the words are used. So different, the meaning of the word on I researched it on the internet, to be honest, is tirza, means pleasant, could be the mean being pleasant itself, or as a beautiful royal city of the Canaanites, that, and in this way God is collecting both Jerusalem and the Canaanites, or Jerusalem and those who are outside the main stock of Israel, like the Jews and the Gentiles, but of course then there was no Jews and Gentiles. Oh my love, you are as beautiful as Tirzah, lovely as Jerusalem, awesome as an army with banners. We never look at an army of banners, awesome, not beautiful, but fearful. And we said before, she's the couch of Solomon. Solomon is Christ, and around him are 60 mighty men with their swords on their thighs. So the church is beautiful but strong. There is no power that can bring the church down, because the church is God, the body of Christ. So who can overcome God? There's no one that can overcome God. So hiding in the church, humiliation in the church, humility in the church is still what will get us to be victorious. Fearful as an army with banners. But the church, what? Not the people, not the position, but the church, the altar, the communion, who God is. So St. Ambrose, let's Sharon, if you can read for us, St. Ambrose.
He who is spoiled by the soldiers, who is wounded by the spear, that he might heal us by the blood of his sacred wounds, will assuredly answer you, for he is meek and low heart and gentle in aspect. Arise, O north wind, and come, O south, and blow upon my garden, that my spices may flow out. From all parts of the world has the perfume of holy religion increased, and the limbs of the consecrate virgin have glowed. You are beautiful, O my love, as Tirzah. Come as Jerusalem. Comely as Jerusalem.
Old English. Beautiful.
So it is not the beauty of the perishable body which will come to an end with sickness or old age, but the reputation for good deserts, subject to no accidents and never to perish, which is the beauty of virgins.
Okay. So the virginal heart is the most beautiful thing. When we say those are virgins and those who are dedicated he's talking here about the virginity of the heart, the full dedication of the Lord, which of course with nuns more than married people. So their focus is on God more. So the awesomeness or the beauty of Jerusalem here is not that she's beautiful, but she's powerful. And I want us to go, there is a verse that's borrowed here from chapter 4, verse 6. Let's read this together. Sharon, can you read it for us? Because this is the flow out of the spices, the beauty of the spices written here. So let's read the verse itself. 16, sorry, 4:16. 350, yeah.
Awake, O north wind, and come, O south, blow upon my garden, that its spices may flow out. Let my beloved come to his garden and eat its pleasant fruits.
Sounds very familiar. It's always about coming to his garden, coming to his garden, coming to his garden. And then 2, my beloved has gone to his garden, to the bed of spices, matches very much that its spices may flow out. That spices is our good deeds. You are the aroma of Christ. Wherever we go, people say this is a true Christian. In fact, that might happen by actually making fun of the person. That's actually the way you're proclaiming you're true Christian. It doesn't mean praise. It doesn't always mean praise. In our day and age, it might actually mean ridicule or belittlement. So the spices are smelled by God, and usually people don't smell it. And the more advancement we get in civilization, the more retardation we get in spirituality. That is the case. For sure, and it's heading more and more towards this. So it doesn't matter if the people smell the spices. It could be very little people in number, but their depth is much bigger than the mass. So don't get influenced by the world or by the surrounding that your Christianity is ridiculed or made fun of, or it's not appreciated. In fact, it's better if you behave with cutting corners or whatever it may be in order to fit in. Then your smell will not be smelled by God anymore. So notice the matching here very, very clearly between 4:16 and the coming to the garden in chapter 6, verse 2. So the love beauty here is God. What matters most is how God thinks of you. Because if we get our evaluation from people, number one, they are fluctuating. Second, they are non-dependable. They cannot be dependable all the time. Third, they can change their mind very quickly. Fourth, they could be double-faced. So all of this makes us that the reliance of people on people is a setup for failure. But reliance on God is definitely success, because let everybody be a liar, but God is truthful. So what God thinks is what is the most important thing. You are his garden, you are his flock. He wants you to be one of his lilies that are going to be perfectly blossoming, permanently blossoming and perfectly as well. So in 4:16 it's inviting. It's inviting, and in chapter 6 it's fulfillment of the coming to the garden and the result of this. So the beloved is like finally comfortable now with the garden. Where is this? It happened on Good Friday. He came to his garden on Good Friday, which is when he went and took all of these captives, the good people that were captured by the devil, and they took him to the garden, to the paradise. In fact, we call it paradise, where the souls now are in perfect joy. Just they're done. They finish. It's just a matter of time, and they will be in the kingdom of heaven, and the universe that we're living in and the whole civilization will not matter much, or will not matter at all. In fact, there will be, as St. Peter tells us in his epistle, second epistle, all of the elements will dissolve. So we need to get into this paradise, and there's already so many lilies, especially the month of March is full of these lilies. We have, who are the saints who departed in the month of March? Very good. Who else? Another Amba. Yeah, the one after Amba Carlos. I might be wrong with the dates, but I think function was March 17th. I think it's 17th, but I'm recording it in order to be nailed to it, so I have to. And Abuna Bishoy Kamel, March 21st, and Abuna Faltaos Surian. I don't know when Abuna Faltaos Surian. No, I don't. No, I know him, of course, but I don't know when. I don't know the date. Maybe in the 20-something. So we have, happens to be that month of March has a lot of lilies. You like the lilies now? Okay. 5. I love verse 5. Verse 5 is that we make March 17 is Spokshinuda. Okay. So thank God it got recorded correctly. So look for Abuna Faltaos then. And Abuna March 17 is Abuna Faltaos as well.
Yeah.
And then Abuna Mikhail Ibrahim also is in this month.
Wow.
So,
Saint Hanulius.
Oh, you're cheating. That's the Synaxarium of today. It's very good. I love the import. There is actually an answer to heresy today. Okay. Verse 5, turn your eyes away from me, for they have overcome me. This is the feeling of God when you look at him. When you look at him with humble eyes. Sometimes we look at him with, I don't want to know you, or you're not fair, or whatever it may be. Sometimes because of difficulties we may resort to this logic, but that logic is satanic. It's very simple. It's satanic. It's an insertion of the Satan's idea in our mind that God is there not to be loved, but to be fulfilling his promises towards me. God accepts this weakness from our part. Otherwise, we would not be able to live any longer. But it's out of His mercy He tolerates the insults that we give Him, that I give Him, and it's a lot. Unfairness, all of that stuff is really things that we think God is and He's not, because we don't know the full plan. And the ultimate result of the plan is to be happy forever, not to just to be happy for a short period. So He puts me on a path to make me happy permanently, forever. No sadness anymore at all. I will not even know that name. I don't even know what it means. When I make it to the paradise or the kingdom of heaven, the word sadness is the first few minutes is erased. It doesn't exist. I don't live it. I don't feel it. I don't know it. It's just something vague we used to remember before, which is I lived it on earth, but it got me into ultimate success, ultimate happiness.
So this verse, turn away your eyes, turn away your eyes, turn your eyes away from me. Now, is that just, is that
not in bad way? Like I'm overcome by your eyes. Like when we look at God with a humble eyes or persecuted eyes, God is really overcome by our eyes.
That's not to be confused with the feeling of judgment?
No, not at all. Not at all, for sure. The context wouldn't have it here. Actually, in another context, in the Septuagint, it says, for they have ravished me. I mean, who can overcome God? It says here, they overcome me. How can we overcome God? We overcome God by love. That it just, when we look at Him with humble eyes, he's melting. So, and that's why a proud person or ego, or when you look at God, he blocks his ears. He doesn't listen, because he then doesn't understand. And that's why people who are always overcome, God listens to them. People who are overcoming or abusive, just God shuts his ears. There's no common language. This is not the language that God listens to. So blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. These are the ones that have acquired the eyes that can melt God. When the person is a persecutor, then God is telling him, as the person blocks his ears away from somebody's need, God will block his ear away from him as well. So we have to have these eyes. These are the eyes given to us by the Mayrun, by the baptism. And I don't know if I wrote here about the eyes in the liturgy. Maybe I will come to it later. Oh no, I actually put it in the text. Well, in several places in the liturgy, God wants our eyes to be fixed on the altar. In fact, one of the nicest responses is in the Gregorian liturgy. The Gregorian liturgy, when it says greet one another with a holy kiss, there is a longer version of it that's to look upon, like when it says offer, and trembling unto the east look. It has a longer version. It says unto the east look, where the Lamb is at the altar, Emmanuel, and so on. It starts describing him. So, and then also lift up your hearts. We say they are with the Lord. So if they are with the Lord, how come I'm looking left and right? Second thing is that the deacon says unto the east look. You are unresurrected or sleeping, resurrect, or sleeping in thoughts, and look unto the east. So God really wants these eyes. So the concept of looking at God is really, really practiced in the church. The location of the altar, the way the carpet, it's not in our carpet here, but it should be red in color. That's the scarlet color, or the blood of Christ. One of the things that captivates the person coming into the church is this redness all around, and whiteness as well when we see the resurrection. This is really, God makes our eyes feast on the colors when we look into the church. So when these eyes are lifted up to him, when we say, our Father who art in heaven, lift up your eyes. And so these are all terms, of course, from the Psalms. Actually, when the eyes of a servant is lifted up to her master, this is the eyes that God loves to listen and look at and listens to. So turn your eyes away from me because they have overcome me. So we have to ask God always, that God gives us these eyes, the broken eyes. And these broken eyes are the eyes, usually if somebody is unfairly treated, as soon as this is the type of eyes that when they are raised to the Lord, they are by definition, by what the person is going through, are broken. So God says, I will listen to every single breath, every single word, every single movement, because I know what you're going through. And these are the eyes that God had, of course, among us. These are eyes of care, eyes of healing, eyes of serving the sick and helping them, eyes of opening the man who was born blind, to give him as well eyes that when he defended that Christ is not a sinner, God met him and told him, would you believe in the Son of God? And now his eyes that stood up for Christ in front of the Pharisees and his parents, now God is telling them, here is what I want you to feast your eyes on, to see me. Many prophets and righteous men have desired to see what you see and haven't, and to hear what you hear and they didn't. But blessed are your eyes, for they see. So our eyes are very valuable, very, very valuable, because they are the tool that can melt God. They are the tool that can melt God. To have God really around your finger. And he doesn't mind this. In fact, he's so humble that he doesn't mind this. Now, will he relate to you and tell you exactly what his plans are? No. But what his plans are for one goal. I want you to be permanently happy. And it's not on earth, unfortunately. Because the earth is run by the devil. And the devil will always persecute you. It is not me. It's the devil who makes your life difficult. Puts all sorts of problems. So God is really wanting us to have his eyes on him. Contemplating on the beauty of him as he looks at me. Your hair is like a flock of goats going down from Gilead. And then he comes to the teeth again. So the hair in its longing flock of goats going down from Gilead. Gilead is one of the mountains. So as they come together, organized, it's just describing the hair. Teeth. I wanted to read this. St. Ambrose has a very funny way in looking at turn away your face from me or your eyes from me. So I didn't like it much, but I don't have the audacity to say this. So I would love to read it as well, so that to give you his viewpoint. Let me read it, because instead of interrupting the reader several times, being extra rude, let me do it myself. So St. Ambrose. So he says to her, as if to one who's perfect, turn your eyes from me, because she cannot withstand the fullness of his divinity and the splendor of the true light. Yet we can also turn your eyes from me as follows. So the first one, it's fine. Here is the hairy part. Although you have been perfected, I must still redeem other souls and strengthen them. So basically, don't keep looking at me. I need to leave and go and get others. You see why I don't like it much? But still, all contemplations are edifying. I'm kidding when I say I don't like it. But it's amazing that he looks at it this way. I always look at it, which is in the context of the chapter, I am my beloved, I'm my beloved as mine. And then he tells her, turn away your face from me, or your eyes, they have overcome me or ravished me. He looks at it like, I can't be gazed at by you only. I have other people to get. It can be, turn your eyes from me as follows. Although you have been perfected, I must still redeem other souls and strengthen them. For you exalt me by looking upon me, but I have descended so that I may exalt all humankind. Although I have risen up and possessed the throne of the Father, which is the whole element of salvation, still I will not leave you orphan, bereft of a father's help, but by my presence I will strengthen you. You find this written in the gospel, I am with you even unto the consummation of the world, in Matthew 28. Turn your eyes from me, therefore, because you exalt me. The more anyone strives towards the Lord, the more he exalts the Lord and is himself exalted. On this account also the psalmist says, I will extol you, O Lord, because you have upheld me. This is actually a psalm that the priest prays when he puts his tonia on. When the priest puts his garment on, he prays Psalms 29 in the first one, no, the middle one in the third hour, and also Psalm 92. So it's easy to remember 29, 92. So this is the first verse of it. I will extol you, O Lord, because you have upheld me. So the service itself, there is Psalms when the priest, as he's dressing to feel the honor and the care of God that made him a priest, he praised this. For the holy person extols the Lord, the sinner brings him low. Therefore, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Therefore, he wishes that she turn her eyes away, otherwise by contemplating her he may be exalted, for now he can attain to the higher regions and may leave the other souls behind. So basically, I don't know how he went there. St. Ambrose says that the bridegroom could be so attracted, so captivated that he forgets what he has to do by getting other souls and leaving them behind. So the fathers can really contemplate. It doesn't mean, of course, that what's before is amazing, but he goes further and says that God is only not for the Jews, but for the Gentiles as well. So he's telling her, you're contemplating on me as if you're captivating me, as if I'm going to go nowhere and leave others. I have other flock, not from this barn or not from this group I have to get. Likewise, in the gospel, he showed his glory not to all the disciples, but to those who were more nearly perfect. So nice, colorful ways of looking at it. So he continues. Next page. No, for me, next page. Sorry. Is it in this one? No, and I think. Yeah. Now imagine some teacher who desires to explain an obscure matter to his hearers. Although he is himself an accomplished speaker and well informed, nevertheless, let him lower himself to the ignorance of those who do not understand, and let him use simple, rather plain, everyday speech so that he can be understood. So there are certain eyes that understand him, and there are certain eyes that don't. Then whoever is more quick-witted among his hearers and can follow easily disparages and questions him. Looking on such a one, the teacher restrains him so that the latter may permit him to spend time rather on those who are more humble and lowly, in order that the rest may also be able to follow. So he looks at it maybe from a negative point of view, that those who have their eyes smart, they can really contempt God, because they sometimes, when we have all of the gifts and ability to serve and so on, I feel that getting into deeper stuff is a cosmetic. I just have to do even my service right, my sermons right, my Bible study right, but where is the inner person? So St. Ambrose is covering actually several angles that God is also here, not for those who look at him all the time, but for those also that look at him all the time correctly. This is to me. Not those who look at him all the time, but those who look at him all the time with the right eye, with the right thinking, with the right focus. Saint Theodoret of Syre, this is your favorite. Can you see, or it's too small? I'm sorry for the font. Okay. Turn your eyes away.
Turn your eyes away from me, because they set me all aflutter. What he means is something like this. The beauty of your eyes, the sharpness of your vision, and the clarity of your thinking have drawn me to love you, to love of you. But do not gaze at me immoderately, lest I take harm from it. After all, I am inaccessible and incomprehensible, surpassing all comprehension, not only human, but also angelic. Even if you wish
to not see two.
Oh, even if you wish to surpass limits and pry into what is beyond your power, you would not only find nothing, but would also impair your sight and render it dull. Such is the nature of light. After all, as it illuminates. All right, as it illuminates the eye, so it penalizes intemperance with damage.
What is he meaning here? What is he meaning here? I put it here to contemplate it. This is a completely untraditional way of looking at it. So he means here a danger of looking at him for a long time. Like if you look at the sun, yes, it provides illumination to the eyes. But if you look at it gazing too long, this intemperance with the look can damage your eyes. I'm inaccessible, I'm incomprehensible, not only to the humans, but also to the angelic. What is he warning us from as this gazing intently or too long? That's of course the wrong gazing. What is the wrong gazing would lead to? No, not pride. Heresies. What happened was all of the heretical were priests or bishops or popes. Amazing. Yes.
Doesn't our church think that he's a heretic?
Not is it of Cyrus? Not of Cyrus. Is it of Cyrus? Theodore of Cyrus? Okay. Maybe that's why. Is it Cyrus? No, I believe you. You actually have more knowledge of this than me. So very, very good. Yeah. No, by the way, not every heretic has a bad contemplation, but actually, what he says here, we have to research this Theodore of Cyrus. I know there is a Theodore that's basically opposed Cyril all the time. That he said something about his grave and very, very ugly stuff. That's him? Okay, good to know.
He says you'll find, one of the things you'll find is nothing.
So, but he's warning. But the passage here is that he's warning from looking at him because you will not be able to comprehend him.
Yeah, I know, but he's saying, but if you stare at him too long, like he warns, don't stare
at him too long theologically, because he can come up with the wrong ideas about him. And if it seems that he quotes us to be having the wrong idea, maybe he has his Cyril in mind with his writing this passage. I think you should take marks of this and share it with the class. Out of all places, we'll find it in the Song of Songs. So I'm going to quote more Theodore of Cyrus, and you have a red mark next to him in order to know how he looks at the passages. Good. I mean, we're all mature here. We can discuss these things. Okay, so sticking with what we want to achieve here is that our eyes, the humble eyes melt God, make him really very responsive. And the Father is contemplate, of course. On this side, this is not elementary or junior high that I'm afraid of getting wrong ideas. You're all grown up, so we want to expose you to the different contemplations. Okay. Teeth. The teeth comes again, and we said that the teeth are the defense against the heresies. Your teeth are like a flock of sheep which have come up from the washing. Everyone bears twins, and this came before in the previous chapter. The twins is the blessing, not just one, but it's two. And none is barren among you. None is barren, so you're always fruitful. Sorry, I have a home thing. So he represents the let's read. I think I have commentary on the teeth here. Let's continue this passage in from 6. Your teeth are like a flock of sheep which have come from the washing. Everyone bears twins, and none is barren among them. So we said the teeth is the defense against the church, having teeth sharp, and it's very fruitful, brings twins. None is barren. There's no one that's left that doesn't bring fruit. This is really the successful congregation. Everybody brings fruit, but fruit, hidden fruit, not proclamation, not advertisement, but hidden fruit that feeds in a hidden way all of the sheep. So, and it says bears twins, so it's inside the person. He's going to bring twins. 7, like a piece of pomegranate are your temples behind your veil. So if you get this red pomegranate and you cut it into parts, and imagine that the cheeks are so red and full of life. So as we told that the descriptions here are very, very graphic in order to tell us just the beauty, is like you're beautiful. He keeps explaining this beauty. So can we read the 2 Augustines there? Susie, could you read for us the Augustines as contemplation on 6, and then 7 we'll probably start it next week.
He praises these sheep also in the Song of Solomon, speaking of some perfect ones as the teeth of his holy spouse, the Holy Church.
Mhm.
Separated from the world to which they were once conformed, they pass over into the members of the church. And rightly therefore are they, through whom such things are done, called teeth like to shorn sheep, for they have laid aside the burdens of earthly cares, and coming up from the bath, from the washing away of the filth of the world by the sacrament of baptism, everyone bears twins. For they fulfill the 2 commandments, of which it is said, on these 2 commandments, having all the law and the prophets, loving God with all their heart and with their soul,
All their soul.
and with all their soul, and with all their mind, and their neighbors as themselves.
These are the 2 pivotal commandments: is to love God with all the heart and the soul and the mind, and to love my neighbor. And one must ask, who is my neighbor? God gives them the parable of the Samaritan, who was attended to, the Good Samaritan, who when somebody was hit, he was not attended to by the priest or the Levi, he was attended to by a Samaritan. And he said, I will pay everything, just take this, and I will pay everything for the person. Which the Good Samaritan is obviously Christ, because he cares for anybody lying on the street, even not cared for by others. And he takes him to the salvation, the church, and says, I will heal him. Whatever it takes, I will heal the person. I will always be there for their healing, which is for the Gentiles, even if it takes death to bring them back to salvation. That's what he did. And he wanted the apostles and the disciples to go from Jerusalem to Samaria to Judea to the all ends of the world. And that's by God's grace. We're in Egypt. We became Christians because of one of them. We'll stop here. There's want to give time to the 60 queens and 80 concubines next week, and I also want to change the layout of the handout. So I might reprint from page 4 on, but the ones before are still the same. And glory be God the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. Thank you all for your presence.